in Modern, but in Legacy, I personally never saw a Scape Sheet deck. It's obviously based on the Veteran Explorer and Cabal Therapy interaction that allows you to put in play quick mana and quick lands, and also you have a Tribe-Elder, you have Primeval Wood Elves, Primeval Titan. He plays a quite strange card. Obviously, Green Sun's in it for.
Is he only play 2 Scape Shifts?
Yeah, only 2 Scape Sheet, 2 Valakut.
Why would he only play 2 Scape Shifts?
He plays the famous combo Grove Banishing Fire.
Oh, he does have 4 Burning Wish though.
Yeah, and he plays a card that most of you probably don't remember, the famous Pernicious Deed. That 3 Pernicious Deed, it's not quite slow card, but lethal in some. If you manage to put yourself in a comfortable situation and do a Pernicious Deed, you probably reset the board with only 2 or 3 mana. You probably reset the board of every opponent. So it's a strong card against most of the permanent, probably all of them. So it's an interesting deck. He's also plays 3 some Divining Top. It's a evolution of the Rock, with instead of the creators the Scape Sheet combo. And instead the other guy is play.
He just has like a regular deck list of Bug Delver. If you have to pick between the Scape Shift deck and the Delver deck, like where do you really want to be?
Scape Shift deck because I find it fascinating. That's why I chose him from a con. And also Ludovico is also it's a good player. It's a player based in Milan. You've got many results, and so we are confident that he is gonna play good this deck. Let's say Lombardi, it's
See, the thing about all these aggro control decks, they really want to play an early threat.
Yeah.
So when you start your game with cards like Ponder and Brainstorms, that's okay. You can select some cards, but you actually lose in time. You lose in tempo, especially because like you do have 4 Death Ray Shamans and full Devil of Secrets. These are your turn 1 play. What you really want to do.
Yeah.
It does have a few like dead cards in his deck. Cards like Abrupt Decay, Disfigure. They don't really do much.
Yeah. It's a revolution of Canadian Threshold with 4 Stifle, 4 Daisies, 4 Wasteland, and he's got a pack of creators that is 3 Tarmogoyfs, 4 Delver, 4 Shaman, 1 True Nemesis, and 3 Dark Confidence. So it's a quite good deck in the way you put a creature and then you play around it. Now you play in a days against the Green Sun Zenith for 1 of Ludovico that's probably fetching. That he was probably trying to fetch the Veteran Explorer, because also Veteran Explorer is very strong against as a block, because if he got block, he's got the ability to fetch 2 lands and stick with the plan of Ludovico. So now the Delver flipped, I think, and so Ludovico is already at 17, and now the plan of Lombardi is. Of Stefano is like to stick to the Delver and counter everything Ludovico put into play. Now Ludovico played I think
Elves.
I think it's
the thing about cards like Days, it's so good in the first turns and so bad later on. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those cards that when you're on the play, you might want to play, but when you're on the draw, you really want to board it out. And playing cards like Days and Wastelands and Stifles, it's probably really good against most of the fields, but not necessarily against this deck. There's a bunch of like basic lands. There's not many fetch lands. Green Sun Zenith, Wood Elves, Secure Tribe-Elder.
You see Alessio Stefano correctly forced will the Wood Elves to put the pressure and to slow down Ludovico. The plan of his deck, as you said before when we was watching the Roberto's game, is to get rid quickly of your opponent, because he can manage a reaction. You don't have to stay with your Death Shaman and doing 2 damages end of turn.
The problem of playing against Scapeshift is like there's so many cards that you want to counter. Like you want to counter the likes of the Baloth, or you want to counter like cards like Pernicious Deed.
Yeah.
I mean, a turn 4 Pernicious Deed can just wipe your board away. So even though you do have a full package of Stiffles, I mean you can't allow your opponent to gain 4.
Another Force of Will came from Stefano on the, I think it's a Ballot.
Yeah, it's
the Obstinate Ballot.
Obstinate Ballot.
Yeah. It's got countered because now Stefano wants to try to bring Ludovico to 11, potentially to 9 with a Shaman.
Yeah, this is just a 3 turn clock.
Yeah. Putting Ludovico in a shape in which he must do something in 2 turns. Now, 5 mana. Thragtusk.
It seems like they're playing 2 different formats.
Yeah.
It seems like one of them two is playing Legacy and the other one is playing Modern.
Yeah, it's quite a limited play. Yeah, Thragtusk though against an aggro deck.
No, absolutely. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Anyway, Ludovico comes down.
It's still at 11.
Because he gained 5. Now, 6 mana. Ludovico now is quite playing safe. Pernicious Deed coming. This could be.
This is one of them cards you really don't want to see.
You don't want to see, yeah, definitely. And
it does play 4 Stiffles though. I mean,
in fact, Stefano is gonna.
It does have 4 Stiffles. I mean, it's not necessarily.
He's gonna say, lethal. Okay, let's go.
Is he gonna race back?
Yeah.
He probably wants to.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely won't. He can't block with Elver, so he attacks. Stefano takes the damages and drops down to 12. So now Ludovico is in a very good shape because he's got a Thragtusk, he's got a Burning Wish in hand, he's got, I think, probably he's got a Escape Shift. And instead Stefano, he's got 2 cards and he's got only a Delver and a Death Shaman that he must.
The problem about the Bug Delver is it doesn't really have a good card drawing engine. I mean, he only has 3 Dark Confidence, and the rest is like Brainstorm and Ponders. Yeah. So he has like card selection, but he doesn't have like a massive card advantage at 3. So once your threats are finished, it's very hard to recover. He doesn't play like Treasure Cruises anymore. He doesn't play like these kinds of cards that could just, let you refill your hand after a board wipe.
Now a Pernicious Deed for 1 came out from Ludovico in response of the Death Shaman activation. So Ludovico drops down to 9, but now Stefano doesn't have a board, and it will be difficult for him for a cover because he doesn't have a way to get rid of Thragtusk because he's got Absolute Decay, but it's not effective obviously against Thragtusk. I think he's gonna die of Thragtusk.
One of the problems of the aggro control decks as well is that they are playing against a certain metagame. And if you're facing an opponent which goes on top of the current metagame, playing like 4 drops and 5 drops, then all of a sudden your Abrupt Decays are really bad. All of a sudden all your Mana Denial and Stiffles and Daisies and all that are really bad. So it is very complicated.
Definitely.
I mean, Lombardi's deck is probably a decent choice against decks like Storm or against the current metagame. But I mean, can he beat the Punishing Fire? He probably can.
It also will Punishing Fire. Yeah, easy win from Pagliugi. Maybe I don't. Maybe if I was Lombardi, I wouldn't have Force of Will the first elf, the Wood Elf. That Force of Will was too fast. Anyway, looking at the sideboard, Ludovico's got 2 Duress, 3 Slaughter Games, 3 Carpet of Flowers, 1 Cabal Therapy, 1 Insane Blood, 1 Damnation, another Escape Shift, 1 Maelstrom Pulse, and 2 Surgical Extraction. Maybe he's gonna board in for sure the Capret of Flowers, but a strong response against the denial of Stefano, because they resolve every problem that Ludovico can have against the blue denial deck. Because for every island he got mana, so Capret of Flowers definitely will be a choice. Duresis also maybe. Instead, Stefano he's got an envelope. He's got a one pair, the classic one for sideboard with one envelope, one click, one Nurod, one needle, one Golgari charm, one delage, one Flusterstone, one Dread of Night, two Tough Sights. He doesn't have a real strategy against Ludovico.
It doesn't seem to me like the Delver deck has got like a real real answers to what the Escape Shift deck is trying to do. Also, it does have a few cards that like are particularly bad. Cards like Disfigures, cards like Abrupt Decays, cards like all these kind of like removal spells that don't actually remove anything. So what he wants to board in is probably, I mean, I don't even know, maybe a couple of Thoughtseize or but there's not a lot. I mean, there's not many ways of dealing with Track Tusks and Baloth in his deck list.
No, there's nothing you can do against a big creature aside from this figure plus block, but
I mean, you cannot even,
not an answer. Yeah, a submerge, one submerge, but since
you don't really want to submerge a Baloth.
Yeah, not really. Even though, because if I saw well, basically Ludovico doesn't play fetch lands, so you're not gonna submerge anything. You're gonna put it again in play.
You cannot even stifle anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
your plan is
this
totally.
This matchup is just so horrible for the Delver deck.
Yeah. You don't have a
The only
real
thing he
plan.
can do is literally just dropping a Delver on turn 1 and protecting it with like daisies and everything. Well, at some point, he will have to counter too many things because he has to. I mean, I would still keep the Stifle probably for Pernicious Deed or this kind of things. Like he does,
but not so much.
He cannot like sideboard out like 10 cards because it doesn't physically have 10 cards to put in. So he has to pick like
definitely
a few cards to keep, which are bad, but at least they have a use.
Nightmare matchup, a good matchup for Ludovico that really is at a very next door to a seed, a top 8 with a deck that no one expected, and if we'll succeed in that, it will be a good, very good performance for me, because it's a deck that if you see a list you say probably 0-2 deck, but now a mulligan for Ludovico though. He's also got to worsen the matchup for Stefano, the Punishing Fire Loam and Born Willows combo. So for Stefano is a really real nightmare. I mean, he can win only with turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Tarmogoyf, and 2 Force Will.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, every single card in Pagliugi's deck is just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare for Lombardi. I mean, Lombardi's deck can be attacked under so many angles. It's just unfair. Scry on the bottom after a mulligan to 6. Let's see if he has a. No, it still starts with Ponder. Not the best one drop. I mean, you really want to drop a Delver on turn 1.
I mean, the only way you can face this matchup is to having a fast creator and try to surprend Ludovico, because in the mid you don't have a mid game against that deck. Ludovico starts with Land Sensei, now he found the Tarmogoyf. Okay.
Tarmogoyf is actually quite decent because
Quite decent plan.
it cannot be killed by punishing fire.
Yeah.
And it could get bigger than a Balov.
Yeah.
It could get up to 4 or 5. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no planeswalker or anything.
Yeah.
But with like land creature, sorcerer, and instant,
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf can get there.
Maybe an artifact. We'll see. Ludovico in upkeep is fetching with his sensei, and he's playing a Duress that he boarded in, obviously, for protecting the spells from Force of Will and the counter of Stefano. Stefano is now thinking of Force of Will.
He does have a Thoughtsis in hand that he
Yeah.
might want to.
Protect him, but it doesn't make sense because he's got an envelope, he's got a wasteland. This wasteland
This
can
wasteland
be
can actually do things.
can actually do things because he's gonna give him the time. Now Ludovico I think he's got to pick the Force Will.
He can also just pick Thoughtsis.
Yeah, also.
I mean, if he picks Thoughtsis, it's 1 less damage of Tarmogoyf as well. And also to force a will, he would need to use the envelope. So it's. I mean, in this spot, you probably just.
you must say that
just
the
get
end of
Thoughtsis.
Stefan is good. Huh?
Yeah, Stefan definitely has
He's
good.
he's got the envelope for the escape shift. He's got the toad size. He's gonna pick toad sets. Correct choice because he's a 1 for 1 instead of Force Will is 2 for 1. But now with Wasteland in play, Stefano can. With a Wasteland, Stefano can buy a turn. It can be vital. Now Tarmogoyf is 3 for. No, it's 2. There's not an instant. The Wasteland definitely buys a turn here. It's like a Time Walk.
Also, with all the shuffles effect that Palyugi has, this Abrupt Decay can actually do something if he tries to, shuffle something. You might try and get rid of the top.
Burning Wish now from Palyugi. He's got Cabal Therapy, he's got Innocent Blood. Maybe he's gonna pick the Innocent Blood. Or a Maelstrom Pulse. And the envelope arrives. Correct choice. Also because he puts an instant in the graveyard and gives Tarmogoyf a free 4. Wonder now. Stefano is gonna do the strategy we told before. Get a creature in play and play around with. Just like a tempo deck. Now he's gonna try to fetch something or blue card for keeping his Force of Will active. The best thing will be another Wasteland.
Yeah, another
It
Wasteland
could
would be
be
absolutely huge.
very strong. Yeah, also they tried Shaman. Puts another clock. Yeah, Valakut. And Zenith. For
Zenith
2.
for 1.
For 1.
He's gonna get the Explorer, which is actually
Yeah.
quite good because
Yeah.
it does buy a whole turn.
Yeah.
And he also will
Definitely.
get like a couple of lands.
Yeah. Definitely strong.
Yeah, Explorer is, that's why Delver is so much better than Tarmogoyf because being evasive. I mean, he always gets there. While this Tarmogoyf can easily be stopped by an Explorer.
Yeah, now Stefano is aware that the effect is if he kills the Explorer, Ludovico will get 5 mana. But if he does Abrupt Decay, he can put 4 damage, bringing Stefano to 11, then 2 damages of Shaman 9.
The thing that he might as well consider, he might attack into the Explorer, and with the shuffle effect, just try and Abrupt Decay the Sensei Divine in top. He might try and do that, just to get rid of the top. It might be a play. I mean, this Abrupt Decay doesn't really do much. So that's an interesting play because he decided to play a Tarmogoyf number 2 and not attacking into the Explorer.
He doesn't want to give Pagliuki the 2 extra manas. He's just building a board. He doesn't have a third land though, so you cannot even pinger Pagliuki for 2.
Yeah. Yeah, probably the strategy is now turn after, whip into the Explorer, doing 8 damages. Ludovico, I think, is now, he's going to use a Sensei in the winning top in his upkeep. He's probably fetching the Cabal Therapy to found the land. Yeah, now.
I think he has a Baloth in him.
Yeah, now Stefano is forced to attack. Yeah. No?
See, I can definitely see a plan here, because like what he's trying to do is
preparing an attack, a little attack.
Yeah, exactly. Not giving Pagliuki the chance of getting like 2 basic lands in play, and he's just trying to build a board. Obviously, he does have a Force of Will. He does have access to a Force of Will, which prevents Pagliuki to play like a super lethal.
Traktusk.
I was thinking more of a Pernicious Deed, which can wipe his whole board with like 5 manas.
And the MV game, Yeah, with a confidence, this can be a plan. Ludovico's now only 3 cards. He's now looking back to the top. Yeah, now he's gonna play. Yeah, decay, I'm confident. Yeah, obviously, he doesn't want Stefano to see too much cards, because also he's got the Force Will, he's got boost from. And now Stefano, you have to choose.
This land is actually quite important.
He can sit down on. He cannot. It's not easy to sit down on the Deathright Shaman with 2 damage a turn.
What he can do is try to put Pagliuki down to 10, and then attack for lethal
with decay on the turn.
But that does give Pagliuki a few turns. Meaning, if he finds a second green source, he can just drop a Baloth now, which gives him another turn.
Pagliuki is like few cards, few mana, is not in a very good shape. Now he's probably got another Burning Wish. Yeah, no, he doesn't do it. Yeah.
Is that Burning Wish
only tap better?
Is it gonna
Innocent
get Innocent Blood?
Yeah, probably. He will be important because he forces.
If you get Innocent Blood, like he's probably gonna get rid of Shaman. So you go down to 13. He can attack you down.
Yeah,
to
Innocent
5.
Blood, but Stefano chooses, huh? Innocent Blood.
No, I mean he would probably choose the Shaman.
I know. It keeps the therapy. Yeah, so he can get rid of the Force of Will of Stefano, and at the same time killing the Explorer to give mana he needs.
I don't think he's gonna kill the Explorer. I think he's just gonna name Force of Will here.
And prepare.
And say go. He's gonna go down to 13, and then gonna be attacked for 8.
because
Down to
if
5.
he kills now the Explorer, he got 2 mana that he don't use.
Yeah.
I don't know what he got in hand, but
I don't think he's gonna flashback therapy.
No.
Even though he's gonna go down to 3. He's gonna go down to 3 though, because it's down to 13 end of turn, attack for 8, down to 5, plus another activation.
He's not gonna flashback.
Unless he has Pernicious Deed. I mean, if he has Pernicious Deed, he can actually try and do that. Because when you're at 3 lives, I mean, you're playing against a deck with no lightning bolts.
Names, and Stefano's got 2 decays, or I'm wrong? Yeah, double decay. And now Ludovico, he can. I mean,
I don't see a point of flashbacking into.
In fact, if he flashbacks,
I mean, if he does flashback, the only thing he's gonna achieve is losing his Sensei Divine top.
Yeah. Yeah, but he decides to flashback. No response, Stefano. He fetches.
I mean, if he tries to play Abrupt Decay on top, then obviously you probably wanna get the activation on the stack, draw an extra card, and then look at free afterwards. I mean, it's just you still have to do it. I mean, I don't see the need of flashbacking therapy now.
No.
I'd rather give my opponent the choice between doing one or the other.
Definitely. So now basically he's gonna first the veteran, so we put the land in play. So this is also a strong play against this kind of deck, because the veteran allows you to put 2 basic land in play, but since Stefano doesn't play basic land, he probably is not fitting within the plan. So the Death Ray Shaman is gonna hit by punishing fire of Ludovico, and in response, obviously Stefano gets rid of 8 damage, going to 5. Now,
does he have a Pernicious Deed or something? Because I mean, a Baloth would be enough to survive one more turn, because it does have a Baloth in hand, right?
I don't know if there's a Pernicious.
I think I've seen a Baloth play. So you can
plan?
just go for Baloth, go down to 9. That's another attack, and you still have like 1 out of getting a Pernicious Deed.
Yeah, but not definitely a Stifle. A top deck
Stifle is...
from the top.
Oh, he has to chunk now?
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely,
hold
but
on.
a DK.
Okay, DK. That's alright.
Okay.
So does he have to chump here? He probably has to. I mean, that battle doesn't achieve anything else rather than chumping. So
Yeah.
I think he probably
At that
wants
point,
to chump.
I want to jump. Yeah, now Ludovico.
Bang.
Escape shift.
Escape shift.
Whoa!
Yeah, escape shift for the win.
Yeah, because he's got Spell Pierce, but Ludovico has 3 land left. So Ludovico
To be fair,
won.
I mean, it's just you know, it was a tough matchup, but Delver, fought his way back.
Yeah, I mean, we must say Stefano here in this match, he did what he gonna do. He put down the Tarmogoyf, but here you've seen what you have to counter that Green Sun Zenith, because he blocked the action of Stefano for 2 or 3 turns. He had to definitely to force a will with that Zenith, knowing that Explorer will be lethal. But apart from that, Stefano stick to a plan. He found the fast Tarmogoyf and tried to play and to beat down around that. But simply the deck of Ludovico is a real nightmare for this kind of matchup, because he's got everything he's got. Abroad Decay is a problem, Pernicious Deed is a problem, Punishing Fire is a problem, Burning Wish it takes problems, and the Explorer are a problem, the Tractus is a problem, the Ballot is a problem. I mean, and you got also Scale Sheet as a silver bullet. So simply here Stefano was in a 20-80 matchup, and he didn't manage to get rid of to get in game. So we'll have Ludovico probably on the top 8, and we are happy because also for the game, for the deck choice, that is very interesting deck. And I think we're gonna come back. Okay. We'll have a little chat with Stefano Lombardi. Cambi la camera. So you're here with Stefano Lombardi. Just lost 2-0 against Ludovico, but not for your fault. It was a real nightmare matchup.
It was very bad. I know that I will lose 90, 90, then
Yeah, we
10%.
say 80-20, but
Yeah.
it was 90-10 probably. Because you tried to, in game one, you knew what he was playing.
Yeah.
Okay. And in game one, you you basically cannot face his pressure. And why you countered the first? I think it was a wood elf.
Yeah. I thought that it could be great to make a ramp mana slowly. So I can gain
One turn.
one turn.
Yeah, there's no way you can win if it is normal. So, and in the second game instead, you cannot. You can counter that Zenith that can allow him to bring out a veteran explorer to block your Tarmogoyf. So why did you counter with Force of Will?
I had not pitch.
had no pitch?
I had 2 decay and force.
Okay. Okay, because you played. Because you played the envelope before.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's why we were asking. So there's no way you can deal with this matchup. So now you are 5-2.
Yeah, no, 5-1-1.
So you can win the last
Yeah.
one. So
I hope it.
okay. Talking about your deck, about the matchup. Okay, we told about your deck is quite a Canadian threshold with
It's a tempo bug.
Yeah, tempo bug. And what's your what's your good matchups and what's your strategy with that deck? I think I saw you play the version with 4 stifle,
Yeah.
and you try to stifle in days and wasteland and gain time needed.
Because I expect a lot of miracle.
Yeah.
So with stifle and confident, I play well, I think. But in this round, I find a lot of junk
Yeah.
and
It's not a good matchup.
with a lot of
You play
removal.
confidence, I didn't see them. No, you play that confident, yeah.
Yeah.
One Nemesis, free Tarmogoyf, okay. And see, obviously he's a metagame deck. So if
Yeah.
if you find decks outside of the metagame,
In fact.
you get problem. So good luck for
you.
the last turn.
Bye.
Congratulations. Okay, now I think we're gonna interrupt the stream.
Settimo turno il prossimo.
When we came back with the 7th turn, the last turn before the top 8. So let's see you in 10 minutes. Okay, bye.
Hello and welcome to another segment of this Deck Tech here in Milan. And I'm Nicola Borovier. With me I have Fabio Matteo Dozia. And right now we will be exploring very, I could say, a masterpiece actually of a certain deck, which is a Bant, but very much tuned for the metagame we have here in Milan. Fabio. The creator of the deck who came up with this masterpiece of an idea is our dear friend Andrea Boccia, who is, without any question, one of the best players in the legacy scene from Milan, who came up with a very metagame list of band, which is thought and refined to combat the overabundance of miracles in the Milan area. And this is the reason why this is not your usual band list, but it features some very interesting options. If we take a look at the creature base, for example, we can see that Andrea is playing 4 Vendilion Clique, which some may think is too much of a number, but actually is a pretty precise choice, because Vendilion Clique is the creature that you always want to play on turn 2 of a Noble Hierarch, and by herself she is able to hold the ground or the air better with a very, very good race. We also have the full 4 Thrune and Nemesis, which are particularly useful against the black-green base decks, but also against miracles, because of course it's always a threat by its own. Then we also have the 4 Thalia, and all of these creatures put together really make up for a very threatening cocktail, given that they are very difficult to be dealt with, and so they are also able to cover different matchups across the format in very different ways. One thing that is perhaps the most noticeable about this list is that Andrea is going for a couple of Collective Company, which is a card that you don't see very often being played in Legacy. But here, with so many creatures, is at a very low risk of whiffing, actually is pretty good. And once again, it's pretty good against Miracle as well, given that it is going to be a 2 for 1 most of the times. It can be played at instant speed. Right. Yeah. And talking about the mana base, yeah. What I found very interesting is the 4 of Cavern of Souls and Caracas. Yeah. So, what do you have to say about these 6 cards?
These cards are, once again, just a bright idea. Cavern of Souls is particularly good because several of your creatures here are wizards. For example, the Neo Clique is a wizard, and so is Venser, Shaper Savant. And so you will be able to not let them be countered, for example, by Pyroblast, which is a card that is very commonly played in the format. For the same reasons, Caracas is particularly good because with Clique, Thalia, and Venser, you get to some sort of lock where you're able to keep producing value and your opponent is put in a position that becomes more and more difficult. And of course, we have to remember the game being played by Andrea against Team America, where he managed to play a Venser of a Cavern, and then he had a Caracas, and his opponent was pretty much locked out of the game. It was really a bright moment in the history of Magic. So yeah, also as far as choices in the mana base go, that's also pretty much all calculated.
Of course. And of course I can say that Caracas is a good idea also, not only to protect your own creatures, but also to deal with any sneak and show in front of his decks.
Even Tessigur sometimes. Tessigur is not being played so much, but so yeah, Caracas is of course like a soul star.
And what about the artifacts we see here? The 3 equipments.
The 3 equipments represent the Stoneforge Mystic package, and perhaps the one which is not so common is Sword of Fire and Ice, but this is pretty much a good decision, a good choice, because this deck is not really able to produce a lot of card advantage, so you have somehow to make up for your creatures not producing value. You don't have any card draw, you don't even play Jason Scouter, so you need something to pull ahead. And Sword of Fire and Ice fulfills this duty very nicely, and also of course increases the race, and it makes every creature, even Noble Hierarch, become a threat on its own. So,
right,
pretty much. Yeah.
And what would you say it to be an average starting hand, which is a good hand to keep against Miracle? Because of course we have to talk about mulligans as well, and so what's a decent hand that Andrea Boccia would say, okay, I'm gonna keep this hand if I were to play against Miracle?
I think
since I'm friend with Andrea, I think if he knew that he was playing against Miracle, he would keep a hand featuring the dealer click for sure. Both because he loves that card, but also because he's very good at pressuring Miracle in the air, while at the same time disrupting the Miracle deck. But Venser, of course, is another all-star in the matchup, given that he can bounce counterbalance. He becomes uncounterable of a Cardinal Souls, and as I said before, it can be recurred with Caracas over the span of a game, so it becomes very difficult for the Miracle opponent to keep up, and also both Click and Venser bounce Miracle spells being played. So yeah, this is very Yeah, and you can do it as fast as turn 3 with all the mana dorks he has, right? And that's why Double Hierarchy is here, because it allows for more explosive starts. And also Thalia is pretty good against Miracles, given that all the cantrips are going to cost 1 more, and so they become slower. So as you can see, all the pieces combined together make up for something that is really well set to fight Miracles. I have one more question regarding the main deck, and how good do you think it's a collected company as a tool?
I think it's good. I said before, it's not something, of course, that gives you 100% certainty every time. But since here you're also playing Brainstorm, it becomes easier for you, for example, to set up a makeshift collected company by putting 2 creatures on top and then going collected company in the end of the turn or even in your own turn. So yeah, I think it's good, and also it's a 2-for-1, and this deck really needs card advantage somehow. So good choice.
And one very last question about the main, which came into my mind right now: how bad is for you, in your opinion, the absence of Knight of the Holy Reliquary?
Well, Knight of the Reliquary should be present usually in every deck list being played by Andrea Boccia, but this time I think he decided not to go with it because Knight of the Reliquary is a bit slow and it doesn't provide any value against Terminus, and against combo decks it's not really the best creature, so I think this is pretty much the right choice for this current metagame, not to include it. But for example, if the metagame was more full with mid-range decks, of course it would be better, even tempo decks, given that Knight of the Reliquary at a certain point will be able to start wastelanding their mana base every turn.
Right.
So,
okay, talking about the sideboard now. Right now I can see on top of my mind the 2 Milan Crusader,
yeah.
which is a very hefty card, and well,
Yeah,
what can you say about this?
Milan Crusader is particularly good, of course, against the green and black base decks. And I know for a fact that Andrea managed to lead the dream in a matchup against Team America or Shardless Bug, perhaps, where he managed to equip Milan Crusader with Batterskull and to swing for 12.
That's a lot of damage and life gain.
I think his opponent wasn't really that happy.
All right. What about the rest of the sideboard? Here I have, I can see Rest in Peace, which is obviously a good choice against any graveyard-based deck such as Dredge or any deck which could feature Snapcaster Mage.
It also doubles up disruption against the Death Ray Shaman decks. And for the other cards, you see an assortment of various headpairs being played, and Flusterstorm, which is good against combo decks because sometimes they don't expect Flusterstorm to come off bound sideboards. So maybe they are sideboarding more to fight the headpairs. For example, think about Adonaz and Tendris boarding in the Decays, the Chain of Vapors, and then they got demolished by surprise Flusterstorms.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of, in fact, because this deck, well, apart from Thalia, main deck, you don't have much against combo decks, isn't it right?
Well, so, yeah, but still, Video Click herself is already quite the good card against Tendris decks, but also Show and Tell. Show and Tell, of course, becomes a very easy matchup given that you have Caracas, the Vancers. So you can already put up a fight from the main deck, but the sideboard really gives a further punch in with more hand pairs.
And I heard that he was actually the very first person to brew this very unusual band version.
Yeah.
But I know that some other people across Europe are being interested in this brew and did some results with this deck as well, right?
Yeah, I talked with Andrea, and he told me that apparently some German players are falling in love with Boccia Band as well, let's call it like this, and they are copying his list and asking him privately for advice. So it seems that this deck, which basically started off like just as a funky brew, is actually gaining some mainstream success. So good Italian.
Yeah, good to hear, and let's hope that we will see more of this archetype and brew in the future.
Yeah.
Okay,
Signing off.
Thank you for.
I see the light inside you, brighter than the skies. Hold on, just let us escape and fly away tonight. us escape and fly away tonight. We have the world in our sight, and I know together we'll be alright. Can you see forever we will go?
Vai.
Right, we're back in the booth, waiting for the 7th and last round to start. Top of the standings, 5-1 draw, 16 points. We have Marco Camilluzzi with his lone deck. Then Calvaruso also, he drew last round, and Pagliugi has got an earlier draw. So 3 players on 16 points.
Yeah, Calvaruso is playing. Camilluzzi is playing Lone. Calvaruso is already with top 8. Is playing Storm. Ludovico Pagliugi too is already with top 8. Is playing Scave Shift.
Angelo players on 13.
Angelo Cadei probably.
4, 5, 6 players on 13 points. That means there's been plenty of draws so far, which means all of them actually have a shot.
Maybe Cadeipon can draw the last turn with Miracle.
There's only a few players on 5 and 1 that can draw into.
Roberto Marchetti, how Roberto Marchetti with Grixis is came back to 15 points. So after losing from Angelo, won the last 2.
Ragazzi, ditemi chi è che volete.
So Valdrighi Vanvitelli direi.
Maxu!
No, magari pattano.
Ma no, non pattano Valdrighi Vanvitelli. Se non pattano, se no Marchetti e Benjamin. Se no Biava Marchetti.
Sì, quello. Yeah, we're gonna cover Nicola Marchetti against Riccardo Biava. The reason being, Marchetti's on 5 and 1. Biava is on 4-1 and 1, which means it's a win and in for both. Biava is the highest rating of the 13 points bunch. Is on 61.9 rating, which means I would say 99% win and in for him. Also, Marchetti cannot actually draw, so they have to play, and the winner is
Yeah, there's 2 Marchetti.
Yeah.
Marchetti Roberto, the one with Grixis Delver that we saw before, and then Nicola Marchetti. I don't know if they are related. That we don't know how he's playing. So we must say anyway that despite of some, not too much, but some foreign player, all the highest player are Italian. So we kept the cup in Italy.
I would say, right, the top 4 are probably in. If Kadei finds an opponent that can draw, he's probably in. And then 5, 6, 7, probably the last 2, Gianni and Doldi. I mean, even winning the last round, going to 5-1 and 1, they're probably out because of their low rating. They have only 50.8 and 50.0. But up to the 13th,
they can all win the last round and be.
So we're gonna see the match against from Nicola Marchetti against Riccardo Biava. I think that Riccardo Biava is playing miracle as always. He's always played in the last tournament. We don't know how. Now we will have probably the deck lists soon, so we're gonna say. How can we say? Okay, Marchetti is playing Omni Show. That is. Non so se riesco a venire. Porco Dio. La moglie. Okay, so Marchetti is playing Omni Show and Biava Miracle, so it's quite an interesting matchup. Riccardo's got 13 points and Nicola 15. So even if Riccardo wins, can be out of the top 8.
I wouldn't say so. I think Biava is in 99%.
If he wins.
If he wins, it's winning in. It's on 61.9. So chances that his rating is going to drop. It is possible, but it's very unlikely. Very unlikely. So in a matchup between Miracles and Omnishow, where do you want to be?
I'd rather want to be Miracle.
You want to be Miracle?
Yeah, I want to be Miracle. Because it's more a consistent deck. Omni Show, as always, have a strong start, but it's not a consistent in the mid game.
I like the fact that he has one Boseiju main deck and one Boseiju in the sideboard.
Yeah.
I mean, Boseiju can literally just win the game by itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Basically, if Boseiju resolves, every spell is.
I mean, does
crucial.
Biava have any answer to Boseiju?
Don't think so.
Seem like.
He got a Contain Priest for the Emrakul, but it's not that the problem.
Yeah, he has a couple of containment priests in the sideboard that could be okay.
Yeah, but not for the Omniscience.
Yeah, not really for the Omniscience.
Yeah, only for the Emrakul. Anyway, Biava plays practically the same list played by Angelo Cadei, with 1 Council, 1 Entreat, 4 Ponder, 3 Terminus, classical list of Miracle with 3 colors, 2 Mentors. I think it's card by card the list of Angelo Cadei. I don't know the sideboard because Angelo is playing 3 Vendilion and Biava 2, but more or less the deck is the same. Nicola.
The Omnitel deck in the matchup, does he have to rush? I mean, because obviously Miracle doesn't have a clock.
No.
So can you just wait? Can you just shape your perfect hand and just?
Yeah, you have to wait? Because you cannot lose by a force of will, unless you have an hand like Ancient Tomb, and you can try second turn show and tell. In that case, can be Biava. Anyway, he's got an hand with 2 force of will, if I saw good. So he's got a good hand against the combo deck. He's got a Mentor. He got 2 lands, 2 force of will and chase, and a counter spell, I think. So he's got a pretty good hand against the combo deck.
It's not really good against Boseiju though. I mean,
Yeah.
with all the shuffle effects, can Marchetti maybe find a Boseiju that will just end the game?
4 Brainstorm for fetch VMM. He's got 4 Gitaxian. He's got 4 Ponder. He got the Impulse. I mean, he's got many.
Especially because he knows that he's playing against Miracle.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, if you are playing against like a well-known player that always plays Miracle,
obviously
that's a big advantage.
Advantage. And you know with Miracle difficultly he makes pressure on you unless he does a quick Mentor with 2 Sensei and instead in that case. So basically Marchetti is building his hand. Instead Riccardo is quite a good hand but without manipulation. So he's gonna putting his land down and waiting for Riccardo to do something. Now Riccardo draw an Emrakul and he's got an Intuition end of turn to play. Now Riccardo with his third land, he has own access of a Mentor that I don't know if he's gonna play it.
I'm not sure he's gonna tap out because he does have a counter
Yeah,
spell
because
and a
he's
double
got
force
he's
wheel.
got 2 force wheel, but if he tap out, maybe he can play a mentor. And okay, end of turn. Yeah, surprisingly here, Marchetti didn't play an intuition last end of turn. Why?
I'm not sure. Maybe he doesn't have an intuition. I think
Yeah,
it's a
he got one.
It does.
He doesn't. He has got an intuition in hand. He's got an omniscience now. He's got a show and tell.
I mean, he could go intuition end of turn. He could intuition end of turn. I mean, he really wants to draw a 4th land. He doesn't want to go discard. So he needs a 4th mana to just play Flusterstorm. That's an extra protection. I mean, he could
Yeah.
he could go intuition end of turn.
Yeah, he's got an intuition. But
As
why?
a bait. I mean,
Yeah.
because obviously if you're Bianco,
Yeah,
you
you have to
probably
play.
don't.
Yeah, you have to play. What? Why you wait?
Because I mean,
mean-
probably now he's just gonna, sorcery speed show and tell.
Yeah, definitely. He's got to try show and tell now with double force wheel, I think.
I think he can just let counterspell resolve, right? He could just say, yeah, okay, fine,
Yeah.
because he does have 2.
Instead, he decides to force wheel, pitching the spell pierce, and Biava forces back, pitching Snapcaster Mage, keeping in the end the Jace and another force wheel. I would have pitched the Jace to have a Snapcaster into counterspell. This
Yeah,
turn.
I think it's very.
No,
he
he's
does,
got another
he does have
Snapcaster.
another one. So so he does have a double protection anyway.
It's a good, it's
Yeah,
good
it's
end by
definitely really
Biava.
good. To be honest, I would have probably played intuition end of turn as a bait.
Yeah,
Even if you intuition on 3 lands, I mean it's still you could intuition on 3 lands really. Why not?
Yeah, but
If you have access to a 4th land, you also have
yeah,
a
you got
Flusterstorm. If you want.
yeah, and I mean, you can do an intuition if your plan is to do sneak attack this way. Also because he pitched out a Flusterstorm that is very strong in a counter war, so it is.
No, he pitched
now-
out Spell Pierce.
Spell Pierce. Yeah. Yeah, if it is anyways good. Now Dava playing the mentor and the top, I think. Yeah. He's got the force wheel backup, and so he's
So to be honest, if he draws a 4th land, the game just ends here, right? If he draws into a 4th land, he has the Flusterstorm backup.
Yeah, Marchetti now sees Biava with Snapcaster and
Yeah, that's a 4th land.
oh god,
There we go.
show and tell.
Show and tell,
Yeah,
probably
now
gonna
Biava.
force. And then that's a Flusterstorm.
Yeah,
Lethal Flusterstorm.
yeah.
Does he have
Yeah, not good shape.
omniscience?
I think he's got omniscience. Oh god,
Oh,
game over.
is that game?
Yeah,
Yeah, an intuition on Cunning Wish
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, time work 6 permanent. Yeah, you're Ricardo.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Marchetti could have just intuition the end of turn, just to get a 4th land. He could have done that 1 turn earlier.
Yeah.
But then again, Ricardo tapping out for.
He didn't have much choice.
Well, no, he did actually, because if he doesn't tap out,
Yeah, you got.
he does
snap
have. Yeah,
for
he doesn't have.
counterspell and force
Yeah,
wheel.
exactly. That's the thing. Like he
He
taps
decided-
out for 1 turn, thinking, okay, I still have 1 protection. It's probably enough.
He probably thought.
it wasn't.
He probably thought that if Nicola had another protection he has used before.
Yeah, definitely.
So he thought, okay, I have a turn in
Yeah,
which
I have 1 turn in
do the
which I can
clock.
tap out.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, he does have to tap out and do something at some point. Because if you just wait, at some
Yeah,
point,
it's
at
also
some point
true.
it's just gonna.
No, it's also true that the deck of Nicola doesn't have a draw engine. So you cannot. I mean, it's not going in the card advantage.
No,
anymore.
absolutely. Just some card selection.
Yeah,
maybe.
you can. If I'm Ricardo, I
shuffle
can
effects
wait.
and
I
ponders
can
and
wait
bracelets.
with. I can take
I think
it up.
if they play the waiting game, I think Omnitel is favored. I don't.
I
I,
don't know.
mean, I don't think. I don't think Omnitel has to do anything. I mean, you can just sit back.
Yeah, but
and
if
have his
Riccardo
cluster storms
resolves-
and everything.
I mean, if you end of turn, okay, let's think that Riccardo passes the turn and the Nicola tries the show and tell, and Riccardo can do Snapcaster, Counterspell, and so on. Then Riccardo can basically draw a blue card, play in Jace, and
Yeah. and it's
basically end the game. The thing is that with a Fluster Storm, Riccardo cannot. I think he will lose anyway in a counter war
good. Yeah, he would. He would have lost.
because he goes Snapcaster, Counterspell.
Right. Let's have a look at Omnitel sideboard. He has a few one-off to get with Cunning
Sideboard
Bridge.
is
He has one Boseiju. He's definitely gonna bring in the second Boseiju.
yeah.
And
Ricardo
probably that's it. I don't see him
Ricardo's
boarding
got
anything else.
yeah. Ricardo's got 2 Pyroblasts, 2 Flusterstone, 1 Red Elemental Blast, and obviously 2 Vanillion Clicks. I think will board in, and also Containment. Because also if Containment Priest is not a good answer because we have Omniscience.
Yeah, I mean he still plays 4 Omniscience, so he can stop the Emerald.
Yeah, I can
I mean he
stop
probably
the-
has worse cards in there. He probably has
Yeah.
like cards that he doesn't really.
I think
want.
he board in 2 Clicks, 2 Flusterstone, 2 Pyroblast, 1 Redness. 7 cards. Boarding out probably the Council Judgment and probably one or 2 Terminals, or maybe all of them. I don't know. Maybe Plowshares. Quite useless.
I think he does have a couple of slots for
So yeah.
the containment. Bridge.
Yeah, also, yeah, because if he boards out all the removals, like Plowshares and Terminals, he's got 7 slots.
Also,
One land
he
maybe,
could actually
one land
play
maybe.
end of turn containment priest. I mean, he could literally go,
Yeah.
aggressive with the containment
Yeah,
priest.
also,
Especially
yeah,
because
the
if he
plan.
sits back there,
Yeah.
I mean, at some point one of the
Yeah.
two Boseiju is going to show
Yeah.
up and you just lose on the spot.
Okay. Now game 2, Ricardo starts with land top. And I think he got a consistent hand with Jace and maybe a counterbalance. And Nicola now. Nicola in the first game, I'm still wondering. Ricardo's got a pretty good hand with a counterbalance, a Jace, and the 2 lands. So he doesn't have a force will, but he's got a consistent hand. Here Nicola, he can play a Ponder, but he didn't play it. Probably he wants to wait. And now Ricardo is gonna.
Probably holding a Spell Pierce for a counterbalance.
Yeah, I think so. Now Ricardo is gonna propose a counterbalance. Yeah, he's got the spell piece. Yeah, Nicola correctly kept a spell pierce for a counterbalance of Ricardo.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Does counterbalance do a lot in the matchup?
Yeah, but he forbids all the manipulation by Nicola. That is important part of the. Yes, even Nicola boarded in also the sudden shock.
he
Yeah,
boarded
for
the
the
sudden shock
for the mentor.
for mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, now preordained for Nicola.
Is that Boseiju on top?
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
Okay.
Oh
good game.
God,
Good game.
could be really a problem.
Yeah, it could be.
Now Ricardo is so immediately fetching something. Now he knows that he cannot wait on the counter spells. He's got to find a quick plan. You see, he's trying to have the mana to do immediately something. He's got to do a quick Jace. Now Nicola is got only to fetch the victory condition. Here preordained before he lays the land to avoid. And now Nicola, it's in the driver's seat. He's got already.
He also has omniscience, so even if Biava had a
containment priest is not enough. You just now have to find an intuition or a show and tell.
Oh, he also has a burning wish.
Yeah.
He also has a burning wish.
He's got a Emerald also.
So he could just burning wish and counterball this turn
Yeah.
if he wants to.
Yeah. Definitely he will do it.
So he will just burning wish for probably just burning wish for a show and tell if he has one in the sideboard.
Yeah, I think so.
That's something I don't understand. I mean, he plays 4 show and tells main deck and 1 burning wish in the sideboard. So what does he do? Does he just put the burning wish main deck and a show and tell in the sideboard? I mean, what difference does it make?
I don't know the plan. I don't I don't get the plan. Also because he doesn't have targets.
Yeah,
for,
I mean, it seems like he doesn't have a target.
Yeah. Strange play. Maybe the burning wish is against meddling mages. But I don't know. Really don't know.
Yeah, it's very, very awkward.
Or maybe for a surgical.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he did. I mean, main deck he does have 4 show and tells, and in the sideboard he has.
Yeah, for
one
Riccardo
burning
now
wheel.
is very complicated because Marchetti, the only way Riccardo can do is with a Vendilion click, putting out the show and tell from Nicola and otherwise. Or with a counterbalance, but no, you can counter with.
Yeah, no, Boseiju trumps counterbalance.
So, very bad shape for Riccardo.
Is he gonna go for it?
So now Nicola can play show and tell basically, and Riccardo has nothing he can do.
Let's say if he didn't have any
game
answer
over.
to Vendilion click, would he still do that?
Yeah,
Yeah, he would, because he has Omnitrance and Emrakul, so he would still go for it anyway.
the click puts the show and tell on the bottom.
No, but I mean, if you show and tell and then click in response.
Ah, okay.
But he wouldn't wait, would he? He would just do it in the draw step.
Yeah, obviously to get rid of the show and tell in general for avoiding the kind of risk of it I'm talking about. So now Nicola, the ponder, wants to maybe finding something, but he probably knows that if Riccardo has got a Vendilion click or he've already used it in the draw step. So basically,
Yeah, what should he be scared of?
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because he also have Omnitrance. I mean,
Yeah,
if he only
he's got
had Emrakul, he could be fearing a containment priest.
A containment priest or a Caracas or something. But anyway, you cannot do much better from Caracas. Now he takes 2 damage from Boseiju. He's gonna play a show and tell, and Riccardo is gonna put the Jace on play, but will not be enough. Show and tell now. Let's see. Snapcaster Mage from Riccardo. Omniscience. Riccardo he lost the game. Yeah, Riccardo, now we are in tier on Omniscience. He responds. Can he wish counter it? Spell Pierce. Conceded. Nicola easily.
Well played, and there's
played.
absolutely no
We
answer to
we
Boseiju.
told you in the beginning of the game that Boseiju was lethal in this matchup. Cannot do nothing about.
Yeah, what kind of answers can you have to Boseiju? I mean, obviously, Omni Show, it's not the most popular.
The
deck,
only
but
is
you just basically scoop to Boseiju, or like it seems like.
You hope you don't see him.
Yeah, it seems like Miracles tries to answer everything, right? Being the control deck in the corner.
Click is your response.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, you can't get rid of the land anyway. I mean, it's clearly not a response, is it?
Yeah, Vendilion click. Yeah,
Is
very
that-
responsive.
Would it be worth it? Like, I mean, maybe a couple of wastelands in your sideboard or something?
It's difficult to play to run Wasteland in a free color deck. We
No,
also
just as a
plays-
sideboard card. I mean,
Yeah,
just as a
but-
sideboard.
You get to see them.
Yeah, well, there's two Bosage
You don't-
rules
you don't
against
have-
two wastelands.
Okay.
I mean, if you're playing the Omnitel deck, I mean, you really want like a few Bosage rules. I'm actually surprised he only plays two
Yeah.
between main and sideboard.
Definitely.
I mean, you know, you just win on the spot when you cast it, so you might as well just play full. Especially because Miracle is such a big part of
Big part of the meta, yeah.
So you want to beat Miracle, so like just have like a full set of
I don't know.
a full set of.
Anyway, the Swiss is finished now after 7 rounds, so the top 8 will be, as far as we know, Marco Camilluzzi with Loam, Davide Calvaruso with Storm, Ludovico Pagliughi with Scape Shift, Nick Feeter, which I call, probably Angelo Cadei. Let's see how other.
Yeah, we have to wait for a few more results to come in.
Sorry, no. This is harvesting. And one probably we say allora sure top 8 are Camilluzzi with Loam, Davide Calvaruso with Storm, Ludovico Pagliughi with Scape Shift, Nicola Marchetti with Omnitel.
And that's about it. Because really, I spoke with
Then,
Camilluzzi earlier, and he said he would have played the last round. Being on 5-1 draw, he would have played the last round, which can actually change a few things. Because obviously, he said, "Well, I really want to play first in the top 8, so you know, he's in 100%. So why not play the last round?"
Yeah.
So that can actually change a few things.
Yeah, and also probably Angelo Cadei with Miracle will draw the last turn, so he probably in. And I don't know if Roberto Marchetti, Raimondo Vanvitelli, Giacomo Valdrighi usually plays Omnitel. Roberto Marchetti is playing Grixis. Enrico Weyer is another in good position, and he's playing Miracle.
But that's the thing. There's 3 players on 16 points. I mean, these 3 players can actually play the last round, being safely in the top 8, and just playing for the top of the standings, which Camilluzzi already said he would have done that. So, you know, all these players on 15, they're obviously not safe in. I mean, they have to be lucky to find someone that wants to draw with them.
So, probably in the top 8, we'll have 1 Storm deck, 1 Loam deck, 1 Scape Shift, 1 or 2 Miracles, 1 Omnitel or 2, because also Valdrighi, I think he plays Omnitel, and 1 or 2, 1 Drixis Delver maybe, and 1 or 2 Team America. So, as we said this morning, despite of new cards and so on, the decks in the top 8 are always the same, but with quite a good variety. And the surprise of Ludovico playing Scape Shift with kind of strange deck with.
Yeah, definitely.
It's practically you have a 500% against denial decks, against Team America, every version of Devil deck, and denial deck you win.
There's only one Storm deck.
You also good shape with Miracle because you'd have 4, 5, 6 as. I mean, casting costs. So
casting costs are really hard for counterbalance to counter anyway.
And he's not in a good shape against Storm, to be clear. And against Loam deck, if he gets he must be careful of the Wastelands because that deck of Ludovico Pagliughi very much suffers the Wastelands plan. So Giacomo Valdrighi, as we saw, as I told you, he's playing Omnitel too, and he's probably in the top 8. This is a list different from one from Nicola, that we say playing against Riccardo Biava. He doesn't play the red, he only plays mono blue. And he doesn't play Boseju, for example.
He does a
free or sideboard.
He does free in the sideboard.
Free in the
To be
sideboard.
honest with you, I don't know whether I prefer the version with red or just mono blue, but I like the fact that there's like 3 Bosejos in the sideboard.
Yeah.
I really want to have like.
I
want to have the full play set.
Yeah,
I mean, you really want to drop that.
I wanted to play. Yeah, absolutely. I want to play. if a deck will play around counters, well, yeah, well, Lion Sanctity is another interesting choice because it makes you immune from Duresis, Dog Size, and this is very
Liliana's,
strong.
ultimate as well.
Liliana's. This is very strong because most of the decks that doesn't have a response against the combo decks board in much discard effects. So with a Lion Sanctity, you practically get rid of that, and you also give a response that most of them doesn't expect. So it's a good card, very good card, the Element of Sanctity. Also against Tendrils.
I think this deck is a little bit out of the format, but in a format dominated by miracles, I think it's still a solid choice. There's a version with black as well, playing Lindum Walls as tutors, and he has like a few decent cards in the sideboard, but I don't see any Boseijus. So this deck doesn't actually play Boseijus. It just has like one in the main deck. That's not enough. I want more Boseijus.
This is a particular list.
I want like 4 Boseijus.
Yeah, this list different lines he runs the with sides. Ryan black and went with sides. I think that the mono blue version is one that I like most. Even though having the red elemental blasts helps.
Yeah, it does help. It does help.
But if you say, okay, I don't want to respond point by point on your blue spells.
No, I don't care. I just want to sit back, try and find the Boseiju somehow with all my ponders and fetchlands and bracer. Sit
and
back,
once I have a Boseiju,
wait, and at some point Boseiju go.
It's a strong deck because against creatures deck with few responses, it's got practically access to the show and tell easily. With 1 or 2 counter spells back and he wins. And against the control decks has options. He's got manipulation, he's got the probes, he's got the possibility to see the end of the opponent. He's a good deck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's got a great matchup against aggro control decks. Does it?
I don't know. No.
Obviously, it doesn't really suffer wastelands if it's the mono blue version.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the reasons to play the mono blue version over the blue red version.
Yeah, it depends on the quickness of the aggro
you don't really suffer the mana denial.
If the aggro control deck is not quick, it can settle down the end and win. Obviously, if the aggro control starts Delver and Goif and Daze and Force Will and other days, it wins. But
also,
not easy.
The aggro control decks, like cards like Meddling Mage, they're not really played in the format at the moment. I mean,
I saw some Meddling Mage played in some list. It's a very strong card. Anyway.
to mulligan your hand or not. And to do that correctly, you must evaluate your hand, see how good it is, see if you know what opponent, what matchup you're up against. And there's a different range of hands that you should be able to evaluate, whether the hand is a drawing hand, whether it's a good hand, whether it is a hand that can get there, or whether it's just a hand that you really should mulligan. So if you're thinking about reasons for keeping your hand, you probably should just mulligan it. But let's just get into some examples. Let's say, for example, you're playing Jund in Modern, and you are playing against Affinity, for example. It's a top 8, you know what your opponent is playing. It's game 1. You won the Swiss, so you're going first. And you are playing against Affinity. Now, these card spells are probably one of the first cards that you're going to board out against Affinity. So in this particular situation, you can just open up with a 1-mana discard spell, follow up by a second turn discard spell again. And then you have a 2-for-1 in the form of Coligan Command, providing that you do draw a land. Now, you might actually consider to keep this hand, even though you do not have like important cards like Lightning Bolt or anything. But this is a hand that I would rank keepable, absolutely keepable against Affinity in this specific scenario. Especially because if you went down to 6, you're still looking for key cards, and one of the key cards in the matchup is actually Coligan Command. So providing that your 6-card hand, to be better, you should really have 3 lands, Coligan Command, and 2 other spells. So this hand, whether it's featuring a couple of cards that are not necessarily great against Affinity, it is definitely keepable in that scenario. On the other hand, this 7-card hand, exactly the same scenario against Affinity, most likely a mulligan. You have a key card in the form of Lightning Bolt, you only have 1 land. I do not see many scenarios in which you would keep this hand on the play, I would say ever. On the other hand, you have a hand that it's nearly keepable on the draw, because it's very close to be the perfect hand. Then again, mulligan into 6, scrying 1 card, making sure that you can actually play a game of Magic and not just scooping in case you do not draw a second land, probably just a better idea. Now, let's assume you play the quite popular Grixis Control deck, and you're on the play against an unknown opponent, and this is what you open. Now, you do have 1 land, you do have Serum Vision and Gitaxian Probe and Foscar. So assuming that you open up with a Gitaxian Probe and you play a Serum Vision on turn 1, you're gonna have access to the next 4 cards in your deck, plus the 5th one to draw on your turn 2. Assuming that your deck is quite full with lands that are going to allow you to play Young Pyromancer on turn 2, then this is probably a hand that it's quite reasonable to keep because it's very close to a really good hand. This 7-card hand on the play is, I would define it as unkeepable, because you only have 1 land, and one thing that most players say is that every single 1 land hand is really good, obviously, because you do have 6 spells. In this particular scenario, this hand is not even that good. I mean, you do need to draw a second land just in order to Snapcaster Mage into Gitaxian Probe just to cycle, which is not the most powerful play you can make. Also, by fetching into blue mana just for spell snare, you don't really have access to Terminate, assuming that you're going to fetch for blue-black. So this hand definitely has some flaws, and you can definitely find 6 better cards than this in most scenarios. So I would say this hand is mostly a mulligan. Let's switch into Legacy. You're not playing elves, and you're on the play against an unknown opponent, unknown deck. The elf deck doesn't really play many lands, so you don't really want to open a hand with too many of them. And you don't really have an engine to go off on turn 2. So you kind of assume that you're going to cycle into something better. So providing that you open with Fetch and Death Ray Shaman, and nothing happens to the Shaman, then in theory you would be able to play just Glimpse of Nature on turn 2 and cycle your Heritage Druid while drawing into another elf. So on your turn 2 you're probably going to find yourself with 2/3 new cards, depending on how you see it, or double cycle an Elvish Visionary, but I would assume you'll just cycle the Heritage Druid, even though you might be drawing a blank card. So this hand is definitely not great. Some stuff might happen to your Death Ray Shaman, but in the end of the day, you might be able to just play on turn 2 your Elvish Visionary and cycle into something else and try to go off on turn 3, which is definitely possible. Not the most exciting hand, but in a vacuum, I would just probably keep this hand and see where it goes. It's not the best, but mulligan into 6 in a format with Fault Seizes, Sword to Plowshares, Force of Wills. There's not many mulligans to 6 that can dodge all these kind of cards and still go off on turn 2 or 3 faster than this hand could. So I would say I would probably keep this hand on the play. Different scenario with this hand. Now you still have 3 lands for some reason, which is not very likely with this deck. But this hand doesn't really have any engine. I mean, imagine that you open up with Bayou, Green Sun Zenith, to fetch for a Dryad Arbor and have access to 3 manas. Most likely you're just going to play 3 1-drops, and that's it. So you don't really have an engine. While the other plan would be playing Nettle Sentinel on turn 1, attack for 2, playing Queer Ranger and Virtual Rangers, which still is not... It's not a great hand. I mean, it doesn't really do anything. Even if you're drawing, probably the best draw you could have is Glimpse of Nature on turn 2, which would allow you to just cycle 2 of your creatures into 2 new cards, which is still not very exciting. So I reckon you can definitely do better than these 7 cards. Now, one deck that went a little bit off the radar was Blue Moon. It top-8'd Pro Tour Valencia a couple of years ago. It could make a comeback after a ban of Twin, but let's imagine you're playing this hand against Affinity, right? You're on the play against Affinity in game 1. Now let's analyze this. You have Lightning Bolt, which is one of the best cards you can possibly have against Affinity, and you do have Spell Snare, which blocks probably the best threat they have in form of Cranial Plating. Remand, definitely not great against Affinity. Snapcaster Mage into Bolt, a good play. Vendilion Click, not the best card. And Blood Moon, which can get rid of all the pesky Nexus lands. Obviously, a 1-lander, it's most likely a mulligan, and I would say this is a mulligan. The only reason you would keep this hand is Lightning Bolt and Spell Snare, because every other card doesn't really have a big impact on the game. So these 2 cards, they might have an impact, but even if you mulligan to 6, you could still find those 2 cards, or at least one of them, at least in the form of Lightning Bolt and Snapcaster Mage. Even Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster Mage, and 4 lands is better than this 7 cards hand. Even Lightning Bolt and Spell Snare and 4 lands is better than this. Because with this hand, you literally can not play a game of Magic if you do not draw a second hand. So in this case scenario, on the play, I would definitely mulligan this hand. Let's assume you were on the draw. If you were on the draw against Affinity with this hand, I still wouldn't keep this hand. The reason being, because they do play Mox, so they might be able to play a 2-drop on the first turn, which basically means your Spell Snare is not going to do anything for the rest of the game. So then your play becomes Lightning Bolting, whatever they have, and you're way behind with a Remand that doesn't do anything. A Spell Snare probably doesn't do much, and you really have to draw land number 2 and 3 just in order to be able to Snapcaster Mage into Flashback Bolt. So there's no chance I would keep this hand either on play or on the draw against Affinity. Now let's go to Affinity. Probably the best deck in Modern at the moment and the most hated one as well. Let's assume you're on the play with this hand. Now, you're able to literally just cast 6 out of 7 of the cards in your hand on turn 1 by playing Darksteel Citadel into Drum Memnite, tap it for another Drum Memnite, tap it for a Volt Scourge, which leaves you with 3 mana and a Cranial Plating in hand. So you haven't done anything, but you do have Cranial Plating to attack on a Volt Scourge on turn 2, and you're attacking for at least 8. Now, this is definitely a snap keep. The reason being, even in the worst case scenario, in which you were facing discard spell on turn 1, you still have 3 manas available, or you could attack for free. So, imagining that you draw into another Plating, or a Champion, or a Ravager, or any other decent spell that the deck has, you're not that far away from having the perfect hand. This hand on the play, what does it do? You can open up with Impmont Nexus and Volt Scourge into land Ravager on turn 2. Does this opening beat any deck? Not really. I mean, it doesn't really do much against most decks. It seems to me like this hand, a lot of players would keep it just because it has a 1-drop and a 2-drop, which is one of the best cards of the deck, but not in this specific case. I reckon Affinity in game 1 can do much better than this. It doesn't have the key card, which is Cranial Plating. It does have an Inkmoth Nexus though, and it does have a Ravager. So I would advocate that some people would probably keep this hand, just because they can play a game of Magic, because they do have 4 lands and 3 spells. And one of those lands can be reused later. Not even that later, maybe even on turn 3 you might try and do something with it. But I would probably mulligan this hand. Anyway, most hands are debatable, so feel free to share your opinion in the chat.
Hi everybody. Everyone knows about Eldrazi in Modern after the breakout in the Pro Tour Out of the Gatewatch. What we're going to talk about today is Eldrazi in Legacy. Is the deck playable? Apparently so. It's been winning a local tournament. What we want to know is what's the difference between this deck in Legacy and Modern? Why is this deck viable in Legacy? How does it play out against the major decks in the format? Let's go to the mana base first. How do you actually play these threats? What's the difference between this mana base and Modern?
So the difference between this version and the modern one is that in Legacy you even have more the so-called soul lands, which are the lands that produce 2 mana. Here you have up to 14 lands, possibly up to 16, but certain lands of course are better off as 3 elves instead of 4 elves. You have your 4 Idrota Temple, 3 Eye of Wugin, 4 Ancient Tomb, and also 3 City of Traitors. So of course this makes it extremely possible for you to curve out and to skip ahead on drops by playing your, for example, your 4 drop on turn 2, the Thought Not Seer, your 2 drop on turn 1. So of course Legacy offers a mana base that is way more consistent than Modern one, which is even more scary.
Right. We do see this version as less manlands than the modern one, obviously because it has more access to Sol Ring lands. For Wastelands, it's a concession to the fact that sometimes in Legacy you do need to get rid of, just weaken the mana base of your opponent sometimes. So I would start off with the 8 cards that actually interact with your opponent. Some of your creatures do interact with your opponent, but the best thing of this deck, according to me, is the fact that make it consistently 2 mana on turn 1. You can play out a Chalice of the Void or a Thorn of Amethyst. Right. How many decks actually scoop to Chalice of the Void in Legacy? How bad is it for your average opponent to play against a Chalice for 1 on turn 1?
Well, it's definitely, it makes scoop. It makes like several decks in the format scoop. Just think about all the tempo decks, for example, Bug Delver or Canadian Threshold, the Rag Delver, even the combo decks, Adonazan Tendrils. But the fact is that actually Legacy is mostly based on the blue cantrips. So even decks that are more resilient to Chalice of the Void sometimes just fall to it because they kept lands that were just chock full of 1-drops. Just think about Miracles, for example, Sensei's Divan in top, but also Sword to Plowshares. So Chalice of the Void, of course, is a spell which is extremely powerful. And also Thorn, of course, like Thorn makes it more difficult, even more difficult for your opponent to go off through Chalice and Thorn and also the creatures. So it's all in all, it's a very solid 8 pieces of disruption.
Right, so we can definitely say that this deck, like most decks in Legacy, but especially with this one, you do want to win the coin toss. You want to go first. Right. The other ways to interact with your opponents are Dismember and Warping Whale. They do different things. Dismember obviously have much better removal. Warping Whale has different abilities that you can actually use. For example, the second one, which is quite interesting against Miracles. How about the creatures? Because we do see that the core of the deck is the modern creatures, like the same creatures that the colorless Eldrazi would have played in the top 8 of the Pro Tour. Well, how does this deck play out? I mean, what's your average opening hand? Let's say you're not playing Chalice of the Void or Thorn of Amethyst. What's the order you want to play these creatures on? How do they interact with each other?
Yeah. Your usual start should be, if you don't have Chalice or Thorn, your first turn play should always be a Eldrazi Mimic, because it is the Eldrazi which allows for very damage-heavy outputs. For example, if you go turn 1 Soul Land into Eldrazi Mimic, you will then be able to play another Eldrazi on turn 2, and then the Mimic will be able to attack already for quite some damage. Your ideal turn 2 play could be either Matter Shaper, or if you're lucky and you have a double Soul Land, you can even play Thought Not Seer, which is the likelihood of playing which is way higher than the modern version, because as I said before, here you have 14 colorless lands. And then of course you can go turn 3 Reality Smasher, and all in all these starts are blazing fast and they are very hard for decks to keep up with, even for Legacy decks.
Right, obviously there's a concession for late game. Besides the fact that there's only 3 Endless Ones, there's also 2 Endbringer, a card that we haven't seen a lot in Modern. One of the reasons might be because in Modern it's not that easy to produce 2 colorless mana, while in here with all these Sol Ring lands you can actually constantly produce 2 manas and just refill your hand afterwards. Phyrexian Revoker, what are the targets for this card in the format?
Phyrexian Revoker is particularly useful to aid on either Vial, for example, which is a very powerful drop-in play from Goblins, Merfolk, but most of all now, of course, Death and Taxes. Then you also have Sensei's Divinity, because after all, one of the ways that this deck could lose is if your opponent manages to sweep your board with Terminus, and Phyrexian Revoker aids Sensei's Divinity, so it will be more difficult for your opponent to do so. And then of course, you have all your spare targets. For example, Revoker is particularly good against Sneak and Show, where your opponent can't really, for example, draw 7 off Prince of Brand if you happen to drop Phyrexian Revoker off Show and Tell. So all in all, it's a very useful card. And of course also Lionside Diamond, which shuts down the way Storm usually produces mana.
The thing I really like about this deck is it seems to have a really big consistency on turn 1 plays. I mean, it does have 4 Chalices, 4 Thorns, but it also has Mimics and Revokers and Endless Ones, which you can play at the beginning, you can play later. But obviously in Legacy you don't want to waste time, you want to do something on turn 1 and something on turn 2 that actually affects the game. After the sideboard, you do have even more ways to interact with your opponent. I mean, most of the times you would probably board out some creatures, or tweak your cards, tweak your artifacts if you're on the play or on the draw, and you do have even more things to make your opponent's life difficult. I can think, for example, of Three Spheres or Moon Rods. Now, what I wanted to know is against what decks you do need those cards. Like, what are the worst matchups, and how do you fight back with your sideboards?
Yeah, this deck is pretty new. It's like the new hot kid on the block, even for Legacy, or especially for Legacy. So I'm not really entirely sure of the answers, even because like it was just one person who took it to a success in an event. But I can assume, for example, that Nurol is going to come in against LED decks, but also Sensei's Divine top decks. Vorkal Engine is particularly good against green-black base decks, for example Jan, if anybody still plays Jan in Legacy. And you have Dismember of course, for the tempo decks, Whopping Whale for the same reason, and you can even double up on ways to counter Terminus. I can assume that perhaps what this deck may struggle the most against are fast and consistent combo decks if you don't happen to see your resistors on time. But also perhaps the land sometimes can lock you out of the game by going, your mana base is very fragile, so if your opponent manages to go into long recursion with Wasteland, you're going to be cut off the game quite quickly. So, for example, here you can see also Radical Presentus, which is very useful in trying to shore up the weakness against Life from the Dome strategies. I think so, at least.
Yeah, one of the problems of playing a colorless deck is obviously that you have less access to sideboard cards. I mean, there must be some decks that you don't really interact much against. Obviously, I'm asking myself, what do you really do with Ratchet Bombs? What do you really do with all this dust? They're probably a concession to aggressive decks. Or is there anything that you really want to get rid of with your Ratchet Bombs? Because Ratchet Bombs, it's not a great card in Modern, but it is played. And it's actually quite useful. I mean, there's always something you can get rid of in Modern. What do you want to get rid of with Ratchet Bomb?
I think that here, but also in Modern, especially here, Ratchet Bomb is your equivalent of Engineer Explosives, which of course you cannot play due to color constraints. For example, it's particularly useful to get rid of empty warrants from Storm, but also from token decks, basically. Also the tokens from Monastery Mentor and all that kind of stuff. In slower, grandier matchups, it is also useful because you are given more turns to load it up, to load the counters, and for example pop something that may be annoying you. So yeah, it's essentially sometimes a worse, sometimes a better Engineer Explosives. And also, of course, also against elves by going up to 1 and then unleashing the Ratchet Bomb is going to be, on average, quite devastating against elves.
Yeah, the only deck that I can see this deck struggling against is probably Lens, just on paper. I mean, you don't really interact much against Lens.
But against everything else, I think this deck is very consistent. It can be on the aggressive side, it can be trying to lock your opponent down and then just winning with a big threat. But yeah, overall I'm quite impressed. So we'll see if this is going to be like a big player in the format later on.
Okay.
I see the light inside you, brighter than the skies. Hold on, just let us escape and fly away tonight. We have the world in our sight, and I know together we'll be alright. Can you see forever we will go? We are forever learning, one step at a time. As long as the world is turning, I'll be by your side. We'll keep the fire burning.
Okay, we got the top 8 of the Legacy tournament. And the top 8 are the Marchetti couple, Marchetti Roberto with Grixis Delver, Nicola Marchetti with Omnitel, Marco Camilluzzi with Loam, Ludovico Pagliughi with Scapeshift, Davide Calvaruso with Storm, Angelo Cadei Miracle, Giacomo Valdrighi Omnitel, and Raimondo Vanvitelli, we don't know the deck, but
So 2 players were out with 5-1 and 1. So 2 players stood
the
out.
poor
with-
Stefano Lombardi with his tempo deck, and Enrico Celis, he was playing Team America. So the 2 Team America are out of the top 8. We just look to see the deck of Raimondo Vanitelli.
Yeah, the top 8s are just being called at the moment. So just a quick time to get a few pictures going, and then there's gonna be our coverage of the top 8, the quarterfinals. There's gonna be a rematch between Camilluzzi and Cadei.
No.
I think there's gonna
Yes,
be
yeah.
There's gonna be Loam against Miracles. That's a quite
Yeah.
interesting matchup.
There's
can
gonna
watch
be the mirror of Omnitels between Nicola Marchetti and Valdrighi Giacomo. And there's gonna be Scapeshift against Storm. Worst matchup for Ludovico. Unlucky.
Very, very unlucky. In the
Unlucky
top 8,
here.
he
Unlucky here.
found his worst matchup straight away.
So probably the prediction are that Davide Calvaruso will win against Ludovico. We don't wanna be.
We don't want to jinx it, but honestly, it's just such a bad matchup.
Yeah. The 2 Omnitels obviously is a close matchup, and Camilluzzi against Cadei, it's a good match. We'll see. We are, as I told you, we're gonna tell you soon what's playing Raimondo Vanitelli. But for the moment, we have 2 Omnitels, 1 Loam, 1 Scapeshift, 1 Miracle, 1 Storm, 1 Grixis Delver. So quite a, I don't say expected, but quite classical.
Yeah, nothing new in this
Nothing
top 8 for now.
strange. Nothing strange. The only strange deck is that Scapeshift deck of Ludovico, that now is gonna face the worst matchup, that is Storm.
I mean, honestly, I would be very surprised if he pulls that off. But if he does, you know, that'd be interesting for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. Anyway.
Camilluzzi.
Biava. Marchetti Nicola, ciò?
Dammi anche Biava.
Biava e Camilluzzi. Camilluzzi non ce l'ho.
No, dovrebbe. Sì, no, dovrebbe.
Mi dici solo cosa gioca all'8º? Vanitelli. Plays Dredge with Narcomibas and our friend Dredge. It's been interesting cover Dredge. No?
Who's he playing against?
He's playing against Roberto Marchetti with the Grixis Delver. So we're gonna give maybe Roberto the opportunity to.
We're gonna be offline of the streaming just for a couple of minutes, just to reboot the streaming, so Twitch doesn't play up. So in a couple of minutes, we're gonna be back with the top 8 quarterfinals.
See you later.